Hello everybody and welcome to another WorldBox video. Today we are playing on a desert oasis and there's the little grass paths, that way they can actually get some trees and build. And there's this big oasis in the middle. And what we are going to do today is we are going to have a couple of groups of jocks and we're going to have a couple of groups of geniuses fight over this area and we're going to see who wins. Okay, I went ahead and made 3 groups of each, 3 jocks, 3 geniuses, and these guys are not allied. They can take each other over, they can fight amongst each other. We'll see what happens. First off, let's give genius to these guys right over here. Okay, they're all geniuses now. And then let's make these guys strong and we will see what happens. Now, remember, this doesn't necessarily mean that their children will inherit these traits, but there is a chance that they will inherit them, and this first generation definitely has them, so it's going to impact things. Let's see what happens. First things first, I'm gonna way speed this up using Sonic Speed to let them get themselves established. For all I know, some of these might die to just the desert all on their own. Looks like these guys are starting an alliance, and Jock 1 and Genius 3 are starting an alliance. Now, my thought was with doing it this way, that all of the jocks would get taken over by one of the jocks, and all of the geniuses would get taken over by one of the geniuses. So far, it looks like Genius 1 is really getting ahead, and it looks like the jocks have Jock 1 really getting ahead, and Jock 2 does not even know how to find trees, so they are going to likely starve to death. The geniuses are really getting ahead on expansion here, and it shows how helpful the genius trait is here. Looks like the geniuses already got some armies together, and it looks like Jock 1 is also putting together a very tiny army right over there. Meanwhile, Jock 3 is also slightly expanding. They just got their first army it looks like, and Jock 2 is somehow still alive but not expanding at all. Meanwhile, Genius 1 is reaching for the oasis, and Genius 2 is trying not to get trapped in the corner by Genius 1 and 3. But they're gonna go to war. Oh, they're gonna have a fun time. Maybe these guys developing slower is actually to their advantage. Okay, looks like Genius 2 is going to war against Genius 3. Genius 2 has more population, and they had their armies centered right on the borders, and it also looks like Genius 1 is going to help them out, so Genius 3 is likely done for. Let's slow this down real quick, just to 3 times. Genius 3 is taking over a super tiny colony right there. Genius 2 is taking over a much larger colony of Genius 3, and it looks like Genius 1's a little bit angry with their behavior over here on the left, so they're taking this village back over. And it goes right to Genius 1. I believe that was Genius 2's before. And look, the jocks over here aren't fighting, and Jock 2 is just chilling. Just the king, he's all that's left. Their nation's probably done for. Well, I'm surprised Genius 3 has even lasted this long, and they're actually claiming territory back. They're playing very well for having both of these nations attacking them at once. But it looks like their entire middle is getting taken over, and the left, and now they're split up. They took over one of Genius 1's main nations, and they got split down the middle, right down their starting spot. I don't think Genius 3 is gonna make it, and it looks like Genius 2 is going to get most of the spoils here. Oh no, they're taking a big chunk out of Genius 1 as well here during this war. This is not looking good for the other geniuses, and in the meantime, Jock 2 completely died out. Now, if these guys expand enough, they will be able to move into these empty houses and take over some of that land. Genius 3's king is coming in. Oh, he was not having a good time. Looks like Genius 2 developed bows, and whenever someone gets bows, they have a huge advantage. Now, Genius 2 and Genius 1, I believe, are still allied, but I don't think that'll last for long. Whenever borders touch in this game, it's not a fun time. Genius 1 was smart enough to go to the oasis, though, and start plucking out the trees. That's the main limiter on this map, is there actually is not enough wood to do most of the things they need to do. Meanwhile, the jocks just aren't even in this game so far. They've barely expanded at all. Oh, but look, their king. I believe he's a giant. Come on out, king. Oh, and there goes that alliance. Genius 1 is breaking up with Genius 2. That makes me think Genius 2 is gonna win this whole game, but it might turn around. Anything can happen when you have area takeovers on. And Genius 2 immediately wants to go to war against Genius 1. So what we're actually learning today is that geniuses are the ones that cause all of the wars. Wow, okay, they're taking out a significant amount of Genius 1's population already. They took over their land, and honestly, I think they killed more people than they're taking over as civilians. And there they go, the Genius colonies are all together. Now, because the jocks are not doing so well, I am going to give them a helping hand because I want to see a good, fruitful game. So what I'm going to do is I am going to give them all the giant trait, and we're going to see what happens. Maybe this works well for them, and then on top of that, we're also going to give them attractive and see if we can catch their population up just a little bit. Once again, these traits have a chance to pass down, but chances are they won't. It might pass down to a couple of people, but most people will not have it passed down in the next generation. Okay, there we go. And now we just have a whole nation of giants over here and a whole nation of giants over here. And immediately after that, they started expanding. They can handle more villages now. And Jock 3 was smart enough to go take over Jock 2's old village. Meanwhile, Genius 2 is ever expanding. Their population grows larger and larger. Frankly, I think even though I gave Jock 1 and Jock 3 that little boost right there, I still think Genius 2 is gonna win. Jock 3 starting a war against Jock 1. Let's slow this down real quick. 5 times speed. Okay, a couple of giants going to war. And then you look at the normal people in there and you're like, are those children? Nope, those are just normal people. It's been long enough that there are normal people back in the mix again. Okay, Jock 3 took out one of Jock 1's other colonies. Meanwhile, Genius 2 is ever expanding over here. Jock 3 took over some land. It's looking like Jock 1 barely has an army left, so I don't think they're long for this earth. Wow, Jock 1's very tiny army was actually able to repel that attack just fine. I guess their king is just strong enough that he could beat everyone up. Meanwhile, every time I look back at Genius 2, their population is 200 more. Oh, and Jock 1 took back over a small slice of land and gained 10 population back. That area is almost depopulated at this point, but it still matters. The thing that really matters here, though, is that the Jocks are wasting time fighting amongst themselves while the Geniuses are ever expanding onward. They've even got boats now, and they're probably making all sorts of new weapons to kill the Jocks with. Oh no, they're going to peace times. It looks like they've realized the ever-looming danger above them, but it's too late. And now they're making an alliance? This is a little bit smarter battle plan. The Jocks finally hit the good point where they're really starting to expand here. I think that attractive trait is really helping them out, but the Geniuses are already past 2,000 population. They basically have half the map taken over, and almost the entire Oasis as well. Oh, the Geniuses want to go to war, almost certainly with Jock 1, and these guys, I think, are in an alliance. Oh, I think this is gonna be it for the Jocks. Let's see. Okay, 5 times speed, and so far, everywhere that the Genius army has touched, they're taking over. They've taken over this right colony, a tiny area. This area right over here with the Jock 3 king, and he's trying to fight him, but he just was not strong enough. He was still a giant, even though it's a couple generations later. And Jock 1 is about to go under. You can see their king right there, and he is dead. He is dead already, yes. Jock 1 is about to go out of commission, and they're gone. It's just Jock 3 left now, which are actually holding their ground pretty darn well for how much less population they have. I believe they went to peace times, actually, and that's why they're holding the ground well. But we know how this is gonna go now. Genius 2 has taken over all the land surrounding Jock 3, so they don't even really have a chance to expand anymore. They don't got a chance. And the Genius King wants to go back to war already, and I'm just gonna leave this sped up because look at all those lines going in there. That's just so many armies. Like, look at how many people that is. That's kind of ridiculous. Actually, I do want to slow this down just to see how many people are going after these Jocks. Like, just overwhelm them with numbers, I guess. Jock 3 has lost half of their population already. Oh no, they're almost gone. They made a new king to go and defend them, but he's not even a giant anymore. He's just attractive and wise. But he will fight for his people and die very, very quickly, as he did, as thousands of people rush into their land to kill 20 people. Oh my gosh, it's a disaster out here. And that's it. The Geniuses won. So if you ever wondered what would happen if you took a bunch of Jocks and a bunch of Geniuses and you dropped them in a desert with an Oasis, this is what would happen over a couple hundred years. Make certain you guys remember to subscribe. I'm a fairly new WorldBox channel. Thanks guys, bye!